At Ulyanovsk's Aviastar plant, preparations are underway to produce the new Il-100 military transport aircraft. What is it? Why is it needed, and how will it be made? This news is related to Vladimir Putin's recent visit to India. We'll talk about this, as well as the new heroes of the week, in today's episode after a brief summary of positive news. The Angara 1-2 launch vehicle lifted off from Plesetsk Cosmodrome and placed satellites into orbit for the Ministry of Defense. At the Sredny Nevsky shipbuilding plant, another project, 12,700 Minesweeper, has been launched, and at the Krasnoye Sormovo plant, another RSD, 59 dry cargo ship, has been laid down. In Moscow, a shipyard for the production of electric vessels has been opened. Serial production of the G2E diesel engine has started in Nizhny Novgorod. In the Samara region, production of automotive components has begun. In Moscow, production of photonic integrated circuits. In the Moscow region, production of base materials for printed circuit boards, and in Omsk, production of chemical products. This week, Vladimir Putin paid a state visit to India. The president of Russia was given the highest honor. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met him at the aircraft ramp. During the visit, 29 joint documents were signed, as well as a joint statement by the two leaders, which included 70 points, from trade to cooperation in the Arctic, space, and nuclear fields. However, the details of the most interesting agreements for us in the field of military and civil aviation have not yet been disclosed to avoid harming the cause. However, from Indian press reports and official statements, we can roughly grasp the direction of the discussion. On Wednesday, the governor of the Ulyanovsk region, Alexei Ruskik, said during a live Q&A with local residents that a large-scale technical upgrade of the Aviastar plant will begin soon. The enterprise is receiving 46 billion rubles from the federal budget to update its machine tool fleet. This will enable higher production of the Il-76 MD-90, already made here, and allow the start of Il-100 military transport aircraft manufacturing, positioned to replace the An-124 Ruslan. And in this sense, choosing the Ulyanovsk site for production is quite natural. Let me remind you that one of the last wonders of the Soviet engineering school is the heavy transport aircraft An-124, capable of carrying a load of 80 tons for 7,500 kilometers. It was assembled at two factories in Kiev and Ulyanovsk. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, it turned out that neither Ukraine nor Russia could continue producing this outstanding but very expensive aircraft on their own. By 1995, production had stopped. The Ukrainians managed to build 17 planes and the Russians 33. Some of the Ruslans are still in operation in Russia, and the plant in Ulyanovsk has mastered their repair. But of course, the question of the need to create a modern replacement has long been on the table. Until now, it hasn't been resolved due to the lack of engines, since the D-18T engines were produced by the Zaporizhzhia engine plant in better times. Now, however, things have started to move forward, and here's how. In 2016, Russia began developing the country's first ever ultra-high thrust engine, the PD-35. In 2024, the engine demonstrator passed the first stage of open stand testing and confirmed its intended specifications, producing a thrust of 37 tons. Currently, the engine is in its second testing stage, but there is still no aircraft for the PD-35. Technologies developed in this process enabled a parallel branch using the PD-35 gas generator design of the 26-ton thrust PD-26 engine has started, and this engine will power the new Il-100, unofficially called the Slan. Transport aircraft design started in 2016. In terms of its characteristics, it is expected to surpass the An-124 Ruslan, particularly in payload capacity and range, although it is, of course, too early to talk about exact figures. A replacement for the An-124 has been discussed for years, but only now does the project have a real chance thanks to new engine developments. As is well known, creating an engine is the most time-consuming and challenging engineering task, and we are successfully accomplishing it. And the fact that technical re-equipment of production for the release of new aircraft is already starting in Ulyanovsk also indicates that the work will soon move into the practical phase. However, there is no doubt that Russian engineers will cope with their work. But the same problem that killed the production of the An-124 remains relevant: funding. And this is where the big Indian royal elephant comes onto the board. For an aircraft to be produced in large batches, it's not enough to design a brilliant machine and build a modern factory. You need to have a customer for it, and preferably not just one, but many. The Russian Ministry of Defense, no matter how much it wants to, can't provide orders for the entire Russian industry at once. They have to set priorities. That's why every manufacturer tries to attract foreign customers as well. This allows them to increase production, reduce costs, and allocate more funds for new developments. In this matter, India has repeatedly come to Russia's aid and has become a major buyer of our weapons. In particular, India once purchased 17 Il-76 MD aircraft, which received a new name there, Gajraj, or Royal Elephant. But today they are already quite old, and since the beginning of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the Indians have had difficulties maintaining them. They purchased 11 American transport aircraft, the Boeing C-17, Globemaster III. They would probably have continued buying them further, but in 2015, production of these aircraft was discontinued for the same reason as the An-124. There weren't enough customers. Now, India has found itself in a difficult situation. The Royal Elephant's fleet has become even more outdated. The C-17 can no longer be purchased, and they can't manage to create their own equivalent. That's where Russia offered joint production of the new Il-100. According to the Indian press, this would allow the Indians to modernize their transport fleet. And for us, it would enable large-scale production. We can't say for sure, but perhaps Vladimir Putin's visit to India and the statement by the governor of Kazakhstan are related. Born as President Rini Izrov, president of BSRU, Russia has offered its Indian colleagues joint production of Superjet 100, Il-114, 300, and Su-57E aircraft. The last one is especially interesting. We've already talked about India's plans to purchase 40 Su-57S from us and to jointly build another 100. The recent armed conflict with Pakistan served as a stimulus for this, in which the French-made Rafale fighters used by the Indian Air Force did not perform well. After many years of attempts, India was unable to create its own fifth-generation equivalent. So until recently, the choice was between the American F-35 and the Russian Su-57. The Biden administration was not eager to sell its top model to India, but Trump did everything possible to turn both the political elite and ordinary Indians against the United States. And it's not just about Trump's rudeness, but also the fact that the F-35 is an airplane. By subscription, its buyer is permanently tied to Lockheed Martin and the Joint Program Office in Arlington, through which all software updates and diagnostic fixes are processed. This means that Washington can, with the push of a button, turn India's F-35S into bricks, especially since this happened before. After India tested its nuclear weapons in 1998, the Americans imposed sanctions, which, among other things, paralyzed its carrier-based aviation for several months due to a ban on the supply of critical components. No one has forgotten about this, and now, when India has declared technological sovereignty as its national idea, American proposals have lost their appeal. Russia, on the other hand, has long taken this path and offers joint aircraft production without any significant restrictions. The other day, our channel released a report from the Dubai Air Show 2025, where we witnessed the battle between the F-35 and the Su-57 in the Arab sky with our own eyes. If you missed it, be sure to watch it, and a lot will become clear. In any case, the preparations for the production of the Il-100 at the Ulyanovsk plant are a good sign. With or without the Indians, we will finish this project. The only question is the timeline. We will keep an eye on developments and tell you more in future episodes. Coming up, an announcement, business advice, and a hero's tale. Tehran, Iran's capital with 10 million people, faces possible evacuation from drought and water shortages. Kabul, Afghanistan's capital, may also need full resettlement. Because of this, shortages are rising in Central Asian countries. And according to a recent report on water resource monitoring, humanity is now consuming fresh water faster than it is replenished in the natural cycle. This also applies to Russia, despite its substantial reserves. The South, especially new regions, faces severe water shortages, while Siberia experiences yearly water surpluses. Floods inundate vast areas. How can we forget the Soviet River Diversion Project here? It's already been mentioned.